Barbados continues to champion the fight against climate change as the European Union signals its intention to help. Local health authorities reporting no infectious cases of TB on the island. Scores of multinational corporations operating in Barbados to pay higher taxes. And in sports, Barbados signed an agreement with China to begin the National Stadium project.
Broadcasting from our studios in the Pine St. Michael, this is CBC NewsNight, starting now.
Good evening, I'm Pearson Bowen. Minister of Home Affairs, Information and Public Affairs Wilfred Abrams is underscoring the need for the Caribbean region to unite in the fight against climate change. And the European Union has signaled its intention to assist in this regard. The minister was delivering the keynote speech during the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in Integrated Risk Management between the European Union and Latin America and the Caribbean at the Savannah Hotel. Rachel Agard was there and filed this report.
The European Union intends to invest over $47 million in humanitarian aid to enhance disaster preparedness in Latin America and the Caribbean region. Word of this from Home Affairs Minister Abrams as he underscored the need for the region to work together collaboratively in the fight against climate change and disaster preparedness.
The European Union has a wealth of experience, expertise, and resources in disaster management, emergency response mechanisms, capacity building, and early warning systems. Similarly, the LAC region possesses invaluable knowledge and insights garnered from years of grappling with disasters. By pooling strengths and sharing best practices with the European Union, Barbados, and the Caribbean neighbors, we all stand to benefit significantly from these lessons learned over time.
Minister Abrams says in 2021 alone, Barbados was confronted by a trifecta of disasters. In April of that year, Barbadians awoke to the country blanketed in ash after the eruption of the La Soufrière volcano in St. Vincent and the Grenadines. 2 months later in June, Barbados was devastated by a freak storm, followed by Hurricane Elsa, which damaged 1,700 homes on July 3rd.
Such phenomena threaten the advances we as developing states have made towards sustainable development and places our minute, fragile, open economies in a precarious position, offsetting the delicate balance which our countries endeavor to maintain. In the face of such circumstances, it is easy to be consumed by the limitation of our smallness and what is not possible. But the scale of the climate crisis means that we are all on this journey together. And it is only in working with each other that we will be able to weather any proverbial or literal storm.
Further, Minister Abrams says as the severity and frequency of weather systems continue to increase as a result of climate change, countries must increase their resilience and preparedness levels. He adds an individual's and a country's ability to recover is dependent on measures implemented at the beginning, but notes partnerships are equally important.
Establishing strategic partnerships to increase the knowledge base in dealing with these hazards and their potential impacts is critical to building resilience and strengthening a country's ability to adequately respond to that which confronts it. In addition, these partnerships are critical to assessing funding, the funding needed to further build out, enhance, and strengthen in my case, Barbados's early warning mechanism and implement mitigation measures to reduce the impacts of hazards when they actually do occur.
Rachel Agard, CBC News.
As the official start date of the hurricane season hurriedly approaches, we are hearing of the need to further develop ways of alerting the public. In fact, Minister of Home Affairs Wilfred Abrams says protocols need to be developed for government's Common Alerting Protocol, or the CAP app. He was addressing the signing of a Memorandum of Understanding on Cooperation in Integrated Disaster Risk Management between the European Union and Latin America and the Caribbean.
Without CAP alerting, we can interrupt and send out the broadcast. And this sounds all well and good. and the broadcast go, and if you have it on your phone, you'll be hearing the pinging going on, right? But we did a check, and we realized that when we send out an urgent message, after 2 hours, less than half of Barbados is a revenue message. So it sounds good in theory, the framework is there, but further protocols have to be developed.
Minister Abrams notes that there are 43,000 users of the system, and in an effort to reach more people, they have employed the services of those with large social media followings to get the messaging out.
What we have done is gotten some of our social media personalities and celebrities and people with large social media followings on board. And they have also agreed, so there's like an informal sector, where we have the formal media sector, the formal publication and media outlets and broadcast persons involved and the telecommunication persons involved. We also have an arrangement with the persons who have very large followings to share some of our messaging.
In other news now, Barbadians are tonight being assured that the lone case of tuberculosis on the island is non-infectious. Wendy Burke joins us live now and tells us that the public concern started with an online post. Wendy, good evening. Was this an erroneous post?
Good evening to you, Pearson. No, it wasn't. What appeared online was actually this dated document from the Chief Medical Officer's desk since early in May. The language therein may have created alarm for some, but today the CMO, Dr. the Most Honorable Kenneth George, through communication from the Government Information Service to the media, gave the assurance to the public that the individual identified with a case of tuberculosis is non-infectious. Citing a social media post which has been making the rounds, Dr. George explained that actions were taken to provide care for and treat the individual who does not pose a threat. Pearson, he further noted that the Ministry of Health and Wellness will continue working with the gentleman and his family to ensure that the long-term course of treatment is completed. He added that the ministry does not share personal health information with the public and lamented that an email sent in confidence to a security organization ended up in the public domain. The Chief Medical Officer says that from time to time, the minister reaches out to external agencies, particularly if there's a threat to public health involving an infectious disease. He explained that TB is an infectious disease, but treatable, and although the treatment is prolonged, outcomes are usually good. Barbados records approximately 2 to 3 cases of tuberculosis annually, and although most cases are imported, a few come from within the local population. Dr. George has reiterated that the public should not be concerned at this time. Pearson?
Wendy, thank you. The Ministry of Health and People Empowerment is not waiting until the last minute to prepare for this year's Atlantic hurricane season. Permanent Secretary Jehu Wiltshire says a stance has been adopted as weather systems tend to form in the earlier portion of the season. The plan includes the merger of social services and utilizing the Resilience and Reintegration Unit along with other measures. His comments came on the sidelines of this morning's joint UNICEF-FAO regional workshop held at the Courtyard by Marriott.
One of the measures that we have taken in partnership with the KFA School of Business, University of the West Indies, is to actually geospatially map the vulnerable in the island so that we, in terms of the use of an ex-ante approach, are able to focus attention before disaster in relation to providing assistance to those families.
And the FAO's Sub-Regional Coordinator for the Caribbean, Dr. Renata Clark, underscored the importance of the session in ensuring several territories get prepared.
By integrating social protection into climate policies, we can not only bolster our resilience in general, but we can truly ensure that no one is left behind. It must be noted that with the impending revision of the NDCs in 2024, we have a unique opportunity to shape the future of our region's response to climate change. Climate justice shouldn't just be a catchy phrase.
News from the Senate now. More than 180 multinational companies operating in Barbados will be required to pay higher corporation taxes. This as the country moves to comply with the imposition of a global minimum tax rate of 15%. Minister of Energy and Business, Senator Lisa Cummins, led off debate on the corporation top-up tax bill in the upper house. She explained the additional tax will only apply to businesses earning the equivalent of over 1.59 billion Barbados dollars annually.
Barbados has a total of approximately 185 M&E groups with subsidiaries located in a range of jurisdictions ranging from Canada, China, the European Union, Latin America, the UK, the US, and other countries. You also have some right here in the Caribbean region, but that number is quite small. So, Mr. President, you will have 185 companies within scope who will be applying these rules as I have outlined.
Those businesses which do not meet the threshold will continue to pay the 9% tax rate announced last year, while registered small businesses will pay 5.5%. Senator Cummins says last year the government collected $470 million in corporation tax, $400 million of which came from international businesses. She has, however, cautioned against the expectation the higher tax rate will automatically mean a boost in revenue, as companies will decide whether to continue operations in Barbados.
There will be some companies that will decide that they prefer to remain in Barbados. But as they continue internally to consolidate their operations and to treat to what is happening within the Pillar 2 evolution and what other countries are going to do, we will have to wait and see what their determinations are. And that is in particular in the case of countries like the US and like Canada, who have not yet made some key decisions that are still being awaited. We'll have to wait to see where they go, Mr. President.
Opposition Senator Tricia Watson is concerned the new filing requirements under the bill will result in more red tape. She highlighted a section of the Income Tax Amendment Bill which was also considered in the Senate today. It stipulates that from income year 2025, businesses will be required to prepay corporation tax on a monthly basis. Senator Watson is particularly concerned about the impact this will have on self-employed people and small business owners.
Whether they have to do that themselves or they have to pay somebody to do it for them. That's an administrative burden. That is an additional cost. And I think it's ill-advised. I think that we will find that businesses that would normally, or new businesses that would normally be eager to be compliant, will find themselves in a spot of bother trying to keep up compliance. And those of us who have paid, who have been VAT registrants, who know how difficult it is to do the bi-monthly filing and payments, will understand what I'm talking about.
A brand new road for the residents of St. Andrew as Phase 1 of the White Hill project is completed. Crystal Hoyt has more.
After almost a decade, a key access route connecting the communities of White Hill and Hillaby in St. Andrew has been restored under the Scotland District Road and Bridge Rehabilitation Project. Member of Parliament for St. Andrew, Dr. Ramel Springer, was on site as paving began.
As you know well, this road was destroyed almost 10 years ago after heavy rains, and the communities of Hillaby, where we are right now, and White Hill were separated. Now today, persons can now drive safely from White Hill into Hillaby and vice versa. Persons don't have the ability now to come over here and have access to the bus service that runs on this side. Hitherto, they were restricted to one side. In case of emergency, now you can have emergency vehicles entering into White Hill now from the Hillaby side for the first time in a long time.
As it relates to durability, Dr. Springer says the road is built to international standards and government has invested approximately $2 million so far.
I'm not a technical person, but I can tell you that we would have gone down 2 feet and then we built up with marl to give the road a very solid sub-base, a very solid foundation. And from what I'm made to understand, that is best practices. The drainage, as you can see, the road now has slipper and curb. Before, there was no slipper and curb. And now we have enhance drainage. And in Scotland District, drainage is critical because in terms of heavy rain, in an area where there's no rock and the land is merely of clay, then the possibility of land slippage is ever present.
It's a major win for the MP and the people of St. Andrew.
I must say I'm very proud as an MP to know that I would have been instrumental in making this road, this reconnection of Hillaby and Whitehill a possibility. Because when I look at the residents, I see how happy persons are. When I meet them and they tell me, thank you, Mr. Springer, for fixing our road, you know, it gives me great pride. I can't say it any other way, but to say that I'm proud, I'm happy, I'm satisfied. I know it's still a work in progress. I know there's still a number of roads within the Scotland District that have to be fixed. I'm going to work just as hard on those roads to ensure that they're completed and fixed as I've worked on this road.
Work on phase 2 of the project has already begun. Crystal Hoyt, CBC News.
Well, coming up, we'll tell you what's being done to address violence in schools. A task force to address violence in schools should become a reality in the next few weeks. Education Minister Kay McCartney made the announcement during yesterday's afternoon session in the House of Assembly. She says this will be the latest level of support provided for students.
Even as we seek to work together with parents, we have met with the unions, the teachers' unions, the principals' unions, and the Parents' Association, the Students' Council, and we are putting together a task force to address violence in school. We expect that task force should be set up by the end of July.
And in her contribution to the Child Protection Bill debate, Ms. McCartney notes the legislation makes it mandatory for school officials to report cases of abuse.
They also, sir, can make a report anonymously. And also, sir, the point made at 24/7 is that, and should they fail to report, as is their mandatory obligation, it can make them guilty of an offense. Sir, we within the school system have a responsibility.
Minister of Home Affairs and Information, Wilfred Abrams, is defending the mandatory reporting requirement in the Child Protection Bill. He says for a long time, the responsibility was solely on the child to report the abuse. But according to him, mandatory reporting spreads that burden across to other people who should have the child's best interest at heart. The list includes parents, medical practitioners, teachers, and even internet providers and telecommunication technicians.
For the arbitrary third party, sir, if the person goes to do something wrong, one would think that they would want no evidence of it. Half of the pedophiles are caught and tracked by what is on their devices. They're caught and tracked by their footprint, their digital footprint that they have in relation to searches on the net and things that they transfer. So that is why these people are included. If you have to go into somebody's phone, if you're fixing a phone, something, and you see images in there that cannot be explained, that harken to something being wrong, you have a duty to disclose it.
The legislation allows for the report to be made anonymously. Anyone found guilty or not complying with this section is liable on summary conviction to a fine of $20,000, imprisonment of 2 years, or both.
Sports Night is brought to you by Power In. Pause is power. And by Dasani. Live first, Dasani after.
Time for sports now as we're joined by Anne-Marie Burke. Anne-Marie, good evening.
Good evening to you, Pearson. And I begin with this news that the Barbados government and the People's Republic of China have taken a major step towards the start of the Barbados National Stadium redevelopment project as the two nations have signed an implementation agreement. CBC's Admar Goodrich-Boyce reports.
The National Stadium just behind me has not been used for track and field for several months. However, this morning, the Barbados government and the People's Republic of China moved one step closer to providing the framework for a new world-class athletics facility to be built right here in Waterford. During a ceremony at the Ministry of Youth, Sports and Community Empowerment, an implementation document was signed by Permanent Secretary Joy Addison and China's Economic and Commercial Councillor Yang Li, which will guide the process for the reconstruction of the new stadium. No start date has been revealed, as the tendering process will soon start in China, but the project is expected to be completed in 29 months. The first phase is inclusive of the demolition of the existing stadium and will cost $76.7 million complements grant funding. Minister of Sports Charles Griffith says he's hoping work will begin as soon as possible.
It is expected that we will have a facility that will seat 10,000 persons in the initial phase, phase one. I'm hoping that now the implementation agreement will be signed today, that in quick time, a couple of months after the Chinese side do what they have to do in terms of identifying a construction company, that we can see some movement at this location. Just like everyone else on island, I too am eager and looking forward to this. We have waited a long time for this to come, but there were certain details that had to be ironed out, that had to be put in place in terms of the standards, in terms of what the Chinese side was requesting and what we were requesting. Now we have reached that agreement.
Minister Griffith also hopes the new stadium will help to improve the standard of track and field in Barbados and increase the island's medal count at major meets.
I'm hoping that this will see an influx of athletes at the national level. I'm hoping that we can see increased performances as a result of having a brand new stadium. So this can only redound to the benefit of everyone who's involved in track and field.
The project will also be a major avenue for the creation of socio-economic opportunities for Barbadians. And Chinese Ambassador Yang Shen alluded to strengthening ties between the two countries.
The redevelopment of the national stadium will play an important role in promoting employment, developing sports, improving people's livelihoods, and implementing the 2030 agenda for sustainable development for Barbados. China will maintain close collaboration with Barbados and make every effort to promote the early commencement of the project, so as to make the National Stadium a new landmark for Barbados and a new benchmark of China-Barbados friendship.
An artist's impression of what the new stadium will look like has been erected outside of the current facility. Anmar Goodrich-Boyce, CBC Sports.
After 11 years, the West Indies Women's Windball Cricket Festival is set to return to Barbados. 6 teams from Trinidad and Tobago, Guyana and Barbados will compete this weekend in a revamped T6 competition for a grand prize of $10,000. Tournament Director Rodney Simpson provided CBC Sports with details of the competition.
A lot of people asked if we return to the tournament, so we decided that we would start back playing the tournament. Over the years, the tournament attracts a lot of future West Indies players such as Deandra Dottin, Saquana Crinton, Stacey Ann King, Jillian Nehru, Cardette Jack, this young lady, Leanne Kirby. You go on and go on. A lot of players come through the this tournament and went on to represent the West Indies. So we started about this year's tournament. Normally we played at Easter, but we decided that we'll play this recent time by holiday. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday at the Glebe Pavilion.
Meantime, captain of the Barbados Blazers, Tracy Carter, is encouraging the public to come out and see entertaining cricket.
For sure, enough action, enough sixes and fours, for sure. Enough wicket taking. Now you go. Even though it's going to be fun, you still got to take it serious too. So you got to. We are pulling up once. It's going to be Trinidad, as Ronnie said. You know, Ronnie is a Trini, born Trini. Just a joke, but Trini is who we got to push out the table and then go from there.
In an effort to engage Barbadian youth in more wholesome activities, the National Peace Program is staging the Activate T10 Community Cricket Tournament with the aim of uniting communities mainly in the north of the island through cricket. 12 teams are participating in the tournament for a grand prize of $10,000, with the second prize being $5,000. The inaugural matches will take place at Maple, Cyan Hill, North Stars and Boscobel. There will also be an opening cricket festival at North Stars. Speaking during the official media launch, Minister in the Attorney General's office with responsibility for crime prevention, Corey Lane, says it's another way of providing young people with a positive alternative.
It's not just about sports. It is about destination peace. It is about destination unity. It is about engaging the community members, particularly those of you who are not in structured programs, to ensure that you get involved in something, because we all know the saying, the devil find words for, I know you didn't have to finish it, idle hands. And that is what the National Peace Program is here to do, not just to come down with a big stick of crime prevention, but peace promotion through social innovations out here in Barbados.
The Business Report is brought to you with the kind compliments of the National Insurance and Social Security Service. More than a contribution, it's your lifeline.
In business tonight, the Wyndham Grand Barbados Sam Lord's Castle has been recording impressive bookings since it opened its doors last October. And Director of Sales and Marketing, Michelle Olivier, says they are booked solid up to October this year. Trevor Thorpe reports that the group business and other corporate activities have been high.
The resort official says everyone loves new things, and through the winter, 30% of business was from Barbadians, and it augurs well for the upcoming Caribbean Hotel Association's marketplace. She says interest and energy are high from places such as Europe, the UK, Latin America, and partners in the USA.
It's been a great experience getting this hotel open. We did very well for the first quarter of the year. A lot of it was group business. We do have a huge, beautiful convention center here, as well as 422 rooms. So it's a bit of a beast to fill, but we've had a very, very successful first quarter, and we're going into what I think is going to be a very exciting summer with T20 coming and all the cricket games that we'll be having throughout June, crop over in August we're looking forward to. So we've got some peaks and valleys through the summer, but things are going very well.
The resort is now at the stage where it is ramping up its South American marketing thrust.
That is what's sustaining us now. We've had some real exciting groups that have come in and had conferences, large conferences here, as well as independent local businesses that have come in and had huge parties. So the group business is very important to us.
Director of Catering and Convention Services, Dana Gilbert, says the resort is the largest in this hemisphere and demand is high from all markets.
We have had so many different types of groups spanning across all types of tourism sectors, from religious tourism to sports tourism, and now we're doing conferences. So we just hosted a Passover group. It was very different. I think it's the first on the island for such a magnitude of a group. We've done the Black Feminist Fund. These groups, I'm talking about 400 rooms, 900 people. Full banqueting spaces are being utilized. All over the resort is being utilized. So the dynamics of those groups have been phenomenal.
The Wyndham Resort official says the Barbados product is one that is well sought after, and they are working closely with the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association, as well as the Barbados Tourism Marketing Incorporated, and bookings for summer and the last quarter of this year are high. Trevor Thorpe for the Business Report.
She's had her pause and she's back. Anne-Marie.
Yes, Pearson, I promise you some news of golf, as golfer Emily Odwin continues to make great strides with her Southern Methodist University in Dallas, as they booked a place recently in the NCAA Championships. Finishing in a tie for second at the NCAA Brand Regional behind 3 strong days of golf, they came into the final day for 2-stroke lead, needing a spot in the top 5 to advance. Therefore, on the final score was the best 54-hole total at the NCAA Regional, topping the previous previous record set last year by 13 strokes. Audrey birdied her final hole to shoot 75 for the day. She finished the tournament at 3 over par after back-to-back even par rounds. She now has 6 top 20 finishes in 8 starts in her SMU career. Audrey was recently named the newcomer of the year at the school's Student Athlete Awards, the Pony Awards, for her outstanding contribution to the team.
Emily, you transferred from Texas and helped SMU win 4 tournaments, including the American Championship. You have 4 top 10 finishes and were selected all conference. How did the SMU community embrace you in your first year here?
You know, it's been really great. I'm surrounded by such great people, great staff. Everybody here is just so talented, and I'm just so happy to be here. The environment it's incredible. I think it was a needed change for me. And honestly, I couldn't be happier. I'm so happy, with all the girls on the team. Yeah, I really couldn't imagine doing it with anybody else.
And that's our time tonight. Good night.